All right, welcome in everyone. This is for Capricorns, and we are going to do an intuitive tarot reading for the month of August for Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, and also I'm adding North Node Capricorns. Your North Node is essentially kind of your North Star. It's kind of like your North Node is going to tell you what the purpose of why you're here, like what you're here to learn, what's kind of a focus for you. So these are traits or themes in this incarnation, and usually it's things that maybe when you look at your maybe another alternate experience, right? If you've listened to me, the thing is, in kind of my thoughts and beliefs, is that it's not a past life or past lives. We have alternate experiences, alternate lives that are coexisting all at the same time, since really there is no truth to time and space in higher dimensional realities. The only dimension, which is our third dimension, which is where we are, that really creates this concept of time and space. And a lot of it has to do is we only consciously can experience this now moment, and we can only experience basically consciously one experience at a time, right? You can't be here watching this YouTube video but also experiencing, let's say, you in some other experience at the same time in a different location. Where in other higher dimensional realities, that's a possibility. So that's your North Node. So just wanted to clarify that. I am starting to add it just because I think it is pertinent. So if you are a North Node Capricorn, this reading would fit for you. All right, so Capricorns, how are you all doing? We are now fully into spring here in the Northern Hemisphere and fall in the South. So the energies are shifting. They're kind of more, especially for those of us going into or in spring now, right? The energies, being more active, it's asking us to bloom. Things are we're being more motivated to go out there and act on things and to be more active. This is a time of kind of a rebirth out of the winter. So you may be going through a rebirth. I feel like March was kind of that, like, if you want to talk about giving birth, it's like you're actually going through the process, where April now, it's actually like we have been birthed into a new reality, and we're starting to like navigate this new reality that we're in, and like, how does this feel? How am I navigating this new reality with the new perspective and the new me? I've definitely been going through that, but I think April, as well astrologically, is going to be a big month. So there's a lot going on. Just to name a couple things, we have, in the beginning of the month, we have 7 planets that are going to be in Aries. That is called a stellium in astrology. And having 7 planets is rare. So that's going to be a big thing. And Aries is a fire sign. We just also, we are in, let's see, Aries. So we're still in Aries moving into March, and April, and at the end of April we'll move into Taurus. So there's a lot of Aries energy. And what is Aries about? Aries is really a sign about the I, about me. Who am I? It's also an expressive sign about how we show up in this physical reality. It's a sign of action, of passion, of fast energy. And, Aries have confidence, and it's about, again, this manifestation of something that aligns with the soul, that aligns with in our authentic self, in co-creation with the divine and then the physical. That's kind of how I see it. But it's really a sign that can be very strong and it's powerful. On the detriment, though, we got to watch, because Aries on the detriment can actually lean into anger and rage and kind of being too ego-driven. So there's that balance there. So this month is going to be a lot of take charge, action-oriented. You're going to feel a lot of passion and creativity coming up for you and actually applying that and doing something with it. We also have Uranus moving into Gemini this month, so that's going to be a big one. Uranus is the sign of liberation, revolution, freedom, surprises, just spontaneous changes. And kind of connected with Gemini, it's going to align with things more in the mental space. You could have big changes in regards to, kind of education or what you're learning, but also communication is a big one. Shifts in communication, how we communicate, how we connect with others via communication, but also from like a learning perspective. Gemini's about education in general. So there's going to be a lot of revolution in the collective that we're going to see, especially with education, how we learn and how we interconnect and communicate with each other specifically. All right, Capricorns, let's get started here. I'm also just, before we start the reading, a little interlude here. I have authored 2 books. It is called the Sum of Everything series. I have book 1 and 2. The subtitle is The Human Existence in Relation to Heaven. And I just, with where we are at right now in our physical ascension, our spiritual ascension, I think these are great support. Again, I try to say, we're going to get to a point where we don't need anything. And really, right, that's the key. But of course, all of us are at different points of our spiritual evolution, our journey. And I think this is really helpful. The words do have energetic kind of coding in them. So they're going to help your vibration enhance. They're going to help open up kind of that cellular piece in regards to your divine self. So it's really going to help you open up your own divine wisdom. And the concept of the books are exactly similar, the concept to what my channel is about. It's fourfold, and you can read into that. But it mainly is about opening up your truth through your own experience. It's not about me just speaking. My book isn't just telling you this is what you have to do and this is how you have to think. Each chapter is very different. So you might have a chapter that's really explains some concept in our physical reality. It might explain, this idea of karma. But then, on the other hand, it's going to be a completely different chapter that's more poetic or more emotional, that's going to tap into your emotions. So it kind of runs the gamut, but I did want to hit that as well. And I have also added some new metaphysical jewelry that I've made and charged onto my Etsy shop, so you may want to take a look at that. I am going to pull, so for a couple signs, I used my Moonstruck tarot deck, which has a crystal on each card, but I'm not doing that for everyone. But instead, what I'm going to do is pull a couple cards just for you in April for a couple stones that are specifically going to be useful for Capricorns, that you can, if you have them at home, if you don't, you can go get them. Great ways, obviously, through the jewelry or bracelets, because it's always touching your skin. All right, let's see what we got for Capricorns this month. All right, this card keeps coming out for a lot of signs. It says, reflect your authenticity. Your core truths are in the depths of your being. So for you Capricorns, I'm feeling a lot of this. To me, for you guys, is about the mirror of life, the mirror of our physical experience. So our physical experience is always going to mirror back to us our internal landscape. Where are we standing in our truths and our beliefs? Because reality is going to reflect that. So the more we figure out our truth, our real truth, cutting out our personality, cutting out the things that we identified ourselves with, cutting out the belief systems of our childhood, of our families, of our cultures, religions, that is where you're going to figure out who you truly are. And the only way for you to really find your true purpose, find your bliss, find your ultimate happiness, is to get down to your true authenticity. And it's really, most of the time for most humans, it's going to be really deep. It's going to be underneath all these layers. So there is something this month about you really doing that search and really starting to understand this concept of the reflection of the physical, and also figuring out your core truths. On the lookout, be alert to the happenings around you. And love lives on. Honor your past, present, and future. So there's this tie between kind of, again, right, like clearing out this old stuff, clearing out the beliefs or our past that's still impacting us in a way that's blocking us. And it's like really being on the lookout here, to me, is about being alert to how you're interplaying with yourself and how that interplays in life. And there's something here, it's not about, condemning your past or condemning people in your life because of were the ones that programmed you or created this belief system that you're now seeing for its truth, and seeing that it actually has held you back from experiencing life and experiencing the fullness that is possible for you in life. But there's this honoring the path and honoring that you did sign up from a soul level to take on these templates. It could be a template of lack, of poverty. It could be a template of religious, strong religious ideas, and or your past of a parent abandoning you. However that shows up in your life, love is going to blossom. That's what I see this card. Love is blossoming for you as you're truly aligning more and more with your truth and deciding in the face of family or friends or partners or children or jobs to say, I care about you and I love you and this is important, but I need to be me. And I'm going to start making choices that are loving to me. And those are the people in your life who truly, again, are positive and healthy are going to support you. But you're going to see that there are some people that are going to resist, and, it's going to create conflict in the dynamic because, for one, they were getting something from you based on who you were. And now the new you, or the you that's unfolding and blossoming, that's not true love then if they're saying this new you isn't serving me, right? Because that's ego-based. So there's something there about that that's coming out. So let's get some more, dig into the tarot and get more information here. Seven of Cups, that's been coming out a ton. Temperance, Page of Wands. So this page of Seven of Cups, to me, is about really getting clear about what you desire at this pivotal point in your life. What is it I desire now, right? Because that changes. I think a lot of people live in this control of, what they what they wanted based on their templates and their programming, they've limited themselves to their opportunities, to their potential, to their experience. And they've kind of kept that hold and blocked themselves to say, oh no, these are the only things that I can really even think of a potential for myself because of my limited perspective or limited beliefs, or what my family tells me, or, etc. But you're opening up, like this person here, it's like the clouds are clearing and you're realizing, wow, like there's so much more to life and there's so many more possibilities and my desires are changing, right? You do have a lot of divine connection and support right now. I see that a lot with the Temperance card, is like this was referring to like the archangels and our divine support. But this card is about alchemy and finding the path to your sovereignty, which you see in the background. There's this path to the crown. Realizing that you're sovereign and that you have the power within yourself to experience and create. And for one, it's opening up a lot of new ideas for you, new ideas about life, new ideas about things you want to do and experience. And you're finding a lot of passion blooming right here. For some of you, I also feel like there could be something around children. So we'll get more clarity around that. Also, a message I'm getting for some of you is you're awakening from your childhood programs. Okay, the moon. Yeah, there was a lot of fear. Fear around, again, even the thought of opening up to, like, to me, it's like a closed mind, right? Or like a closed, you live in this small little world, and that's kind of the parameter of what you think is possible, what you can experience. And this created a lot of fear for you, and there could have been a lot of anxiety, but that is because your soul is saying, hey, you're being confined. You're being confined. And that is not the ultimate universal law of energy, and everything is energy. We are energy. Thoughts are energy. Feelings are energy. Experience is energy. And the more we confine ourselves and block ourselves off from reaching our highest potential, that is where we create conflict within the mind, within the body, within the emotions. And that's where mental disorder comes in. That's where depression or anxieties, or just unhappiness. Justice. Yeah, so that at the heart is around karma here. But this is about retribution. It's about a shift in your karmic experience. And that's a theme for April for you. 8 of Wands. So there could be some sort of revolution and shifts around communication again. So to me, this is like the Uranus moving into Gemini. Things are going to start to take off a lot faster. But I also feel like you're opening up your third chakra, or your throat chakra. And you're finding your power in your voice, which maybe you never had. The Chariot. Yeah, things are going to move forward fast. And look at that, the Death card. So there's a major rebirth here for you. The King of Cups. This could be an emotional rebirth. There could be an ending, an ending to a relationship. But something is definitely transforming from an old experience into something new. This is like a new reality forming here. And the thing that popped up as I was pulling these is some of you kind of found that you took the role of just being like the the one in the middle. Like you kind of, approach, whether it was in your family dynamic and your siblings, or just even in your partnerships, or you're with your children, you were always you didn't use your voice, and you kind of just stayed like in the middle, stabilizing everyone. Like you didn't add too much either way. You kind of kept your thoughts quiet most of the time, and you just tried to keep the peace or keep some sort of level-headedness within the group. And that, again, is a template you took on to cope within whatever experience you had. It's almost like you took that on as a sense of pride, like that you were that person. But I also feel like it diminished your power. And potentially a lot of people crossed your boundaries. And this could have moved on to like within your children, within your partnerships as well, where you don't necessarily, your kids take your power, they kind of walk all over you or something like that. Maybe you saw it as a positive because you're like, well, this is how I was raised and I'm trying to do it differently. But you kind of went the complete opposite route of, you grew up in a very authoritarian parenting style. And then you went completely opposite, where you completely didn't have any authority, or you didn't discipline at all, or put boundaries up for your kids. So that's coming up for some reason. But definitely there's this like, the King of Cups the cups are about emotion. So this king is about the emotional body. The King of Cups, sometimes, with this card, they say the King of Cups, out of all the kings, even though it's the king of emotions, can have a hard time expressing their emotions. So potentially maybe you're dealing with someone like that, a partner or somebody. But I think all of a sudden with the Eight of Wands, it's almost like everything comes out. And it's like an emotional dump. But it's like that had to happen to like release all this like blocked up emotions that they've been holding on to since maybe childhood. And that's what ends up moving the energy forward a lot faster. But there's a lot coming up from the moon, very unconscious, right? It's like the moon is starting to light up the stuff in the unconscious, and these things are coming up to the surface. And you're starting to, again, like maybe these things were so dormant for a long time, but now all of a sudden you're like remembering these dreams you had, when you were young, or like these yearnings that you've kind of pushed so deep that you forgot about them, or they just like, you just almost became this like robotic type person. But now it's like these are getting triggered to come up again, because your soul's like, it's time. It's time to change and shift and experience something a lot better. A lot better. Oops, these cards are pretty slippery here. Let's get a clarifier for this moon. The Strength card. Yeah, it's having the courage to face the unconscious stuff. A lot of people, they're so afraid to go that deep and face all of the stuff that's in the unconscious. But it's like you're finally going to have that courage to be like, well, this is the only route to get to this new type of life, like finding your heaven on earth, or living a new reality, and opening up to all these potentials. It's opening up to the impossible, but to get there, you have to go through all the stuff that you've been pushing down. But I like that Strength card. You're overcoming this stuff and overcoming your past. Let's see the Page of Wands, 10 of Wands. Look at this. So I feel like you're going from, this card represents you and how you've been living. You've been the one carrying the load. Maybe you've carried the load for your entire family or your children. You've you've had a lot that you took on your back as far as responsibilities, feeling obligated. But it's been a heavy weight and it's been a long path for you. But look at, you're going from 10 wands down to 1. And that's you making new decisions for yourself and saying, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. So there's a closure of a path, a long path that you've been on, a path of difficulty and challenge, striving, not thriving, always trying to continue to, you know, keep going. Like, I got to keep going. I got to invent myself. I got to keep making money. I got to keep taking care of everyone and hold, you know, keep the balance. And this just came out, 5 of Swords. So this is a lot of like trying to maintain control and making sure everything doesn't fall apart. You could also have people in your life that use manipulation to kind of keep you in that state, because they try and manipulate you to say, well, you have to, you know, figure this out for me, or you have to pay for this, or you have to, like, you know, do this for me to make my life easier. Like, there's a lot of manipulation and like guilt, using guilt to try and get you to maintain this, to keep you in this state. So this is what I was talking about early in the reading of, like, as you shift and change and start saying, I'm not going to do that anymore, it's going to rub people who obviously use this to their advantage. Again, it could be children, you know, it could be partners, colleagues, but family members. What's the 8 of Wands? 6 of Pentacles. So you are, for one, you're definitely communicating to people where these situations are not equitable for you. Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, there's something faded. For some of you too, I'm just getting this coming in, is maybe there's some sort of money coming in, like some sort of like just karmic payoff, that like there's money coming in for you that's going to help you, and maybe you'll move, maybe you'll go on a trip, but that's for some of you. And again, this is some sort of faded thing. So it's like you could finally be getting paid for something that maybe you've been waiting for. Maybe someone's been like, it's like you've been waiting for some sort of money situation to figure itself out, and it finally does. What's the Death card? Okay, I got 3 cards flying out. So I got the Knight of Swords, the 9 of Cups, and then the Fool. So there is something that when you look at your past, so the Knight of Wands is looking backwards. So there's something about your past that I feel like is finally, like you're closing some sort of chapter. I think it was a difficult past. You could have been carrying a lot of anger about it, but there is some sort of ending, a closure. And it's like you're definitely the Fool, right? So you're starting this Fool's path now. So there is a whole new beginning for you in April, and this could be the rebirth like I talked about. But you're finally focusing on what you want, what your wish is, and like moving forward based on this new kind of focus, instead of focusing too much on the past. So you could also be literally energetically releasing some heavy things from the past. You also had this oracle card that talked about honor your past, present, and future. It does say love, so there could be something with relationships that you've still kind of been, some resentment here. And maybe as part of this rebirth, you're kind of like, you know what, I'm carrying these resentments because of this 10 of Wands, because I've always carried the load, and I've had to do everything for everyone, and no one has said, hey, let me make this easier for you. Let me, you know. And it's like finally there could be opportunities or this money you're receiving or something, but it's like you're focusing on you now. and making some choices that's going to be easier for you. And maybe other people don't necessarily agree with this, but this is your life, right? Let's see the King of Cups, the Queen of Swords, and the Eight of Cups. I think you are making some choice to make some sort of, you're definitely walking away from something, and you're really clear about it. And you're kind of walking away from something, and that could be the ending here. So you're deciding to end something or walk away from something. And this could be starting a new business, going out on your own with the Emperor here. For some of you, this could be doing this in the face of someone that's really kind of rules the show. And you're finally standing up to this person. It could be a boss, a partner, a father. But you're kind of like, nope, I'm not. You're doing it you're doing it in a way that's very smart, solid, clear. You have clarity. There's no confusion here. There's no like trying to stand up to this Emperor, but you're afraid. No, you've kind of overcome the fears, and you're standing in your truth here, Ace of Swords. And you're standing up against this Emperor person. So either, you know, you could be on either side here. You could be channeling your inner Emperor and going off to create a new life or work that in the form of how you want it. Like you want to be your own boss. And then for some of you, there's someone in your life that is very, you know, stubborn, hardcore, my way or the highway type, who's always controlled everything, and you're finally like, yeah, I'm walking away from that. And you're coming from a place of your feelings and what you really want, and like living a fulfilling life, and not just living a life that other people have wanted you to live. So this is interesting. Capricorns, big shifts this month, but things are going to move forward. And I think once you start really, again, standing in your truth, things are going to start happening more easily for you. So I'm going to pull one more last message here from I Ching to leave you with. All right, you got the card 40, Liberation, Thunder over Water. When faced with obstacles, look within yourself and see if there are any negative attitudes that are presenting difficulties. And that's exactly what I started the reading off saying. Correcting them will bring relief. And that could be this too. There's some resentments, negative attitudes, or just, again, these beliefs and ways of living that it created more of a difficult life. It definitely created more challenges for you. The work you have done on yourself will bring release, presenting the way for clear, steady progress. Now is time to step forward with confidence and balance. Confidence. And this ace, this Queen of Swords, is you presenting that clear way. Don't brood on what has gone. Just forgive and forget the past. They were lessons you needed to reach at this point. Wow. That kind of summarizes, it's kind of crazy how readings work. That card literally summarizes, like at a broad level, what we talked about in the reading. So definitely, if you want to take a screenshot or something of that, or pause and read through that, I think that's good to hold on to during the month, to kind of review this and remind yourself. All right, Capricorns, thanks for joining in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay connected here. And let me know how 2026 has been treating you in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you in the next reading.